Scott Jennings schools leftist panelists on basic civics after he claims presidential pardon can be delegated to anyone other than the president, which is on the face of it ridiculous. Why? That's literally forging someone else's signature, especially if you don't have approval from that individual. And for the leftists to continue to come out and cape for Joe Biden and his auto pen is ridiculous. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to play the clip and hear what Scott Jennings has to say about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. There's a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the Gateway Pundit, and they report that CNN contributor and conservative commentator Scott Jennings once again embarrassed a Democrat pundit on live television. This time, Elliot Williams, a former Obama-era DOJ official, after Williams bizarrely suggested that a president could delegate the constitutional power of pardons, again, which is ridiculous on the face of it. Elliot Williams, who once served as Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the Department of Justice and as Assistant Director at ICE under the Obama administration, bizarrely tried to defend Biden's use of an auto pen to sign official documents including pardons. He said tradition of the auto pen has existed in every presidential administration across parties. I had an auto pen when I worked at ICE, Williams said. And Jennings immediately hit back, asking the obvious question: did you allow people to use the name Elliot Williams without your knowledge of the document or what was on the page? I'm asking you. So the obvious answer, of course, is no. I would not allow people to make signatures without my approvals. I mean, but let's hear what he has to say. Listen to his ridiculous excuse. Here we go.
Tradition of auto pens has existed in every presidential administration across parties. I had an auto pen when I worked at ICE.
I'm sorry, Elliot Williams.
Elliot Williams literally had an auto pen.
You were important enough to have an auto pen. I'm so impressed.
I am important, Casey. But no, and so it's a common practice.
Did you allow people to use the name Elliot Williams without your knowledge of the document or what was on the page?
I don't recall. So
I'm asking you, if you were a government official and you had an auto pen, which you did, would you let some staffer sign things in your name without reading?
Yeah, here's the question. Was my authority delegated to that person? And I think they do have the authority to do so. Laws and and I'm serious, Scott, laws and regulations.
The authority to delegate pardons and executive orders, the President of the United States can say, you unelected staffer can go sign my name on a document that I've never seen for a decision that I've never made?
Quite often, the United States Code delegates authority. So
He's full of crap.
Through the President of the United States, through the Attorney General, whatever else, X person can carry out a function. And certainly that could be the case. Now, Donald...
He literally said without your knowledge. So it's basically someone signing off on it without you giving the okay. Of course not. Of course that's illegal. Of course that's illegal. That's forging someone's signature. And he's pretending like it's not a big deal.
Trump, for instance, in his first term, pardoned like 1,600 people. And I have a hard time believing that he was aware of every single person that he was pardoning. One could make a challenge. Every president does this. Now, if it's a question about Biden's fitness for office, did he know what he was? Of course, raise that question. But I just... one, given how vast the pardon power is, and two, given how comprehensive the use of auto pens are across administrations, I have a hard time seeing a legal challenge.
Nobody can be delegated the pardon power.
Yes.
It is a constitutional power.
Yes.
And I don't really think you can delegate the executive order power either, because the executive has to make the order.
So, Scott, the president...
Facts. Simple civics. It has to come from the president. You can't just delegate it. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution provides that the president, quote, shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. This language vests the power solely in the president, not in any subordinate agency or department. Specifically the president. The U.S. Department of Justice maintains an Office of the Pardon Attorney, but it serves only an advisory role. The president still has to sign off on it. The office reviews applications and makes recommendations, but the president is not bound by these findings and can choose to bypass the office entirely. Staff may prepare paperwork and handle logistics, but they cannot make or approve the decision itself. The president must personally authorize or direct each act of clemency. The House Oversight Committee, led by Rep. James Comer, released a 100-page report Tuesday, declaring all of Biden's auto pen executive actions null and void because he didn't sign off on them. That was all auto pen. These include pardons performed by White House staff and signed by an auto pen. The report calls on the Department of Justice and Attorney General Pam Bondi to conduct an investigation, including of Biden aides responsible for the cover-up. Quote, "We are calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to conduct a thorough review of these executive actions and scrutinize key Biden aides who took the fifth to hide their participation in the cover-up," the report reads. So if everything was above board, if there was no law broken, why were they taking the fifth? Huh? That's a great question, right? Goes on to say the D.C. Board of Medicine must also review the actions taken by President Biden's physician to hide his true condition. We have provided Americans with transparency about the Biden auto pen presidency, and now there must be accountability. It continues. Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to the committee's findings and said her team had already initiated a review of the Biden's regime's use of the auto pen for pardons. Quote, "My team has already initiated a review of the Biden administration's reported use of auto pen for pardons," Pam Bondi said on Tuesday. Wow, wow, wow. Will there be any accountability? Again, y'all know I hold my breath when it comes to accountability because no one has been held to account for the things that went on under the Biden years and all the illegal stuff that happened back then, and no one has been held accountable for any of those things yet. So I'm not really gonna hold my breath, but we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.